Hello everyone, I am Soumya Mishra and today I will be teaching English, and in that I am teaching the poetry London by William Blake. For your reference, I have presented the screen. You can see the title of the poetry is London and it is written by William Blake. Now, before getting into the topic, I would like to first explain why do we need to study English? Why is English so important as Indians for us to learn? See, in India, at a very large scale, English is not quite, propagated well. If we consider English as a language, half of the population is not quite well versed with the language. I personally feel that in India, if you want to consider as educated, if you want to be considered as educated, then you have to know at least some part of English. And if you know a better English, then it is a plus point for your personality. It enhances your own personality. It represents you as a very well educated, well versed person. Now, I would like to come back to the topic, which is London by William Blake. I will be explaining the poetry. It was written by William Blake, first of all, very important information. The poem and the poet's name, which is William Blake. He was born in 1757 and died in 1827. It was a life tenure. Now, this poetry, every poetry belongs to a particular era. This poetry, London, belongs to the Romantic era, or the era or the literary movement can be called as Romanticism. Now, you would be wondering, what is Romanticism? In contemporary times, Romanticism, love, and courtship, these are all different explanations for it, but I am not referring to that romantics. I am referring to the Romantic era, the literary movement which took place in our history. Now, Romanticism was a literary era where poets used to focus on nature, imagination. They used to incorporate nature, their feelings for nature, their imagination in their work. And this particular work by William Blake is a piece of Romantic era. Now, as you can see, major themes of Romanticism are emotion, imagination, nature, and social class. The major two are emotion, major two are imagination and nature. See, nature, in most of the poetries of Romantic era, you would find that poets are praising nature, appreciating nature, and they are expressing their feelings for nature and putting imagination above all. Like any other sort of information is much lower than imagination. Imagination stands above all. That is what literary movement Romanticism denotes. Now, coming to the background of the poem. At the time of Industrial Revolution, it was written at the time of Industrial Revolution, when Industrial Revolution was at peak. Everything was being industrialized, technology was being introduced, people were involved in industrial works rather than any other sort of work. It was written when social differences, like social class is a very general concept, as you know. We, as a Indian society, Brahminical society, have different caste levels, caste hierarchy, and that puts people in different categories, and that is considered to be social class. Now, this was written at the time when there was huge differences in social class. There were people who considered themselves as rich, above or higher in social class, and people who were poor, who considered themselves as at the lower pedestal of the social class. So that is about social class. Coming to the next point, it is set in the city of London. See, the city of London is very well known by everybody. I think each and every one knows that yes, there is a city called London. It is a city, it is a great city. People dream of being there. So that is a city called London, and it is set in that particular city. Now, coming to the major themes of the poem. Major themes of the poem, as you can see, is misery, firstly. Um, Misery refers to any sort of physical or mental pain, mental suffering. In Hindi, you could say dard or kasht, which is the very literal term of misery in Hindi. Coming to oppression, which is when people, little meaning is, it's like you are being oppressed, means you are being forced into something, you are not allowed to do something on your own, that is called oppression. Denied freedom in life is very well understood. Grief, pain, and suffering. Now, when themes are misery and oppression, when somebody is not allowing you to live your life freely, then obviously one undergoes pain, suffering, and freedom. So, the pain, suffering, and grief. So, that is one of the major themes of the poetry. Coming to the corruption of childhood. Here, I would like to mention Songs of Innocence by William Blake. That is a set of poetry, I guess, that is a set of poetry which explains that childhood is the most purest and the most pious and innocent form of human life, and somewhere deep down every person has a child inside them, and we all very truly very heartedly agree to this whole statement. Yes, we believe that yes, we have a child inside us even today, no matter how what is the age. Still we get cravings like child, still you get to behave like child, at least in front of our parents, so we do that. That is the basic idea of Songs of Innocence, and from that Song of Innocence it is derived that in this poetry the childhood is being corrupted, the infants, the children are being oppressed. Coming to the literary devices used in this poetry are symbolism and metaphor. There are a lot of literary devices used, but these two are the major ones. Symbolism refers to refers as like you symbolize something to express a quality. For example, I symbolize this pen as a sword for me. It means it is as powerful as a sword, but not in the terms of war and fighting, but in terms of writing. So, with this, I can write just like I can fight with a sword in a war. So that is the comparison, very basic example. Now, coming to metaphor is the indirect comparison. Everybody knows simile, metaphor. Simile is as like where you use words which are of direct comparison, like as, like it, or as, like as. But in metaphor, we do not use any such words. It is just indirect comparison between two things. Now, rhyming scheme. For those who don't know rhyming scheme, it's the last word of every, in layman terms, the last word of every phrase is considered to be rhymed with every other sentence, and if it rhymes then we put a scheme. Two words rhyming similarly will be A, two words rhyming similarly would be B. So in that sense the rhyming scheme of the poetry is A B A B. So that will be it for this session, and I hope you like it. With this I would like to conclude. Thank you all for your listening.